Husband betrays pregnant wife for mistress. She leaves and marries a millionaire, leaving him in regret in the dazzling streets of Los Angeles, where fortunes are paraded and reputations can be made or destroyed with a single whisper. A dark secret would soon explode into a high society scandal. Nathan Caldwell, a charismatic real estate mogul, was the envy of the elite, with his elegant wife, Sophia Caldwell, who was expecting their first child. He appeared to have it all, but beneath the surface of glamorous galas and extravagant mansions, Nathan's forbidden desires led him into a damning affair. His hunger for validation, for being desired beyond boardroom applause, led him to cross a line he could never uncross. When Sophia uncovered his betrayal, she did more than simply walk away. She broke, but didn't shatter. Instead, she rebuilt. She left the mansion they once called home with only a suitcase and the strength to protect her unborn child. And from those ashes, she crafted something far greater than revenge. She reclaimed her worth. By his mid-30s, Nathan had become a dominant force in real estate, known for bold takeovers and headline-grabbing deals. He was the golden heir of Richard Caldwell, a titan who shaped Los Angeles' skyline. But unlike his father's cold precision, Nathan carried charisma, a charm that captivated crowds, boardrooms, and eventually, Sophia. They met at a charity gala, him in a $1,000 tux, her in a dress borrowed from a friend. She was a spark of sincerity in a room of social climbers. The daughter of a modest bookstore owner in San Diego, Sophia had no ties to high society, but she had grit, grace, and a voice that stirred people when she spoke about education and equity. Nathan was drawn in immediately. It wasn't her background, it was her authenticity. She didn't care who he was. That made him want her more. Their romance escalated quickly. Lavish gifts, champagne weekends, European escapes. But it wasn't just the extravagance. Sophia offered him something money couldn't buy, a quiet space to be real. She showed him that connection wasn't found in closing deals, but in showing up. That trust wasn't bought, it was built. Their wedding became the talk of Los Angeles elite circles held at the Caldwell estate in Beverly Hills. It was a spectacle of Nathan's flamboyance and Sophia's understated elegance. The press described it as a marriage of modern royalty, merging two vastly different worlds into one captivating union. Over the next year, they seamlessly navigated an endless stream of galas, fundraisers, and high-profile social events. Their marriage was upheld as a fairy tale, proof that bridging class divisions wasn't just possible but could lead to genuine happiness. But sometimes, the illusion of perfection only serves to conceal the cracks beneath. Behind every dazzling photo and glowing headline, Nathan was slowly unraveling. His insatiable need for admiration never faded. Despite having a devoted wife, he found himself constantly seeking new thrills. His hunger for attention, once satisfied by corporate triumphs and accolades, gradually veered into more questionable territory, where adrenaline replaced affection. And conquest became a mask for loneliness. He began chasing the kind of excitement that would soon become dangerous. Meanwhile, Sophia devoted herself to supporting Nathan as he expanded Caldwell Developments with increasingly ambitious projects. She was the perfect partner, effortlessly stepping into the role of an elegant hostess, charming potential investors, and securing crucial deals. Nathan often credited her as his secret weapon, publicly singing her praises as the force behind his success. But privately, those praises became fewer. Sometimes he forgot to mention her altogether. Yet, behind Sophia's luminous smile, she sometimes felt uneasy. She sensed Nathan's restlessness, an emotional absence that lingered between conversations and behind polite glances. A tiny, unspoken shadow growing within him, even if she couldn't quite name it. Everything changed when Sophia found out she was pregnant, about 2 years into their marriage. She was overjoyed, seeing it as an opportunity to deepen their bond as a family. Her heart bloomed with new purpose, convinced this child would be the bridge to bring them closer again. Though Nathan put on a smile and told her he was thrilled, a part of him hesitated. Could he handle the responsibility of fatherhood? His empire was built on risk, independence, and extravagance. A child felt like an anchor, something that would tie him down to a role he wasn't sure he was ready for. He told himself he'd grow into it, but deep down he feared the loss of control. those doubts festered, and in the glitzy, champagne-drenched world of Los Angeles high society, temptation was never far away. It called to him, promising adventure, luring him further from his pregnant wife. Little did Nathan know, this temptation wouldn't just put his marriage at risk, it would cost him the one thing he never imagined losing: Sophia's unwavering faith in him. Sophia's pregnancy was a dream come true for her. She envisioned cozy evenings with Nathan, reading baby books and picking out names together. Instead, she found herself alone more often, clutching baby name books in silence, hoping he would walk through the door and ask her about them. She transformed a spare room in their sprawling mansion into a whimsical nursery, painting soft murals of floating clouds and pastel-colored hot air balloons. Friends and family from both sides showered them with gifts and excitement. Yet Nathan became more distant. He insisted he was consumed by an upcoming mega-project, the Caldwell legacy, a monumental skyscraper that promised to redefine the Los Angeles skyline. The skyscraper was set to redefine the Los Angeles skyline. Late-night business meetings, extended travel to attract foreign investors, and exclusive cocktail gatherings became Nathan's routine. At first, Sophia tried to be understanding, but soon she began to feel his absence acutely. She found herself alone in their vast Beverly Hills mansion at 2 a.m., listening to the echo of her own footsteps, wondering if she was destined to raise their child on her own. One evening, after Nathan missed yet another prenatal appointment, Sophia confronted him. They sat across from each other at the grand dining table, the elaborate meal between them going cold as tension filled the air. "You promised you'd show up," she said, her voice trembling with sadness. "I waited there, listening to other moms talk about their supportive partners. I had to sit alone." Nathan sighed, loosening his tie. "I told you, an emergency popped up. The Caldwell legacy is at a critical stage." She tried to stay composed, though tears welled in her eyes. "Nathan, you said we'd be partners in this. I'm halfway through the pregnancy, and you've barely come to any of my doctor's visits. I need you." He reached for her hand, giving it a quick squeeze. "I'm sorry," he murmured. "The expansion is intense. I'll make it up to you, I promise." Sophia nodded, wanting so badly to believe him. But deep inside, a gnawing worry took root. She had no idea that work was only part of the story. The rest of it was unfolding in secret. Private lounges, exclusive hotel suites, and late-night parties. And at the center of this new, reckless thrill-seeking was Olivia Hart, a striking, sophisticated consultant hired to oversee the creative elements of the Caldwell legacy's design. Olivia was everything Sophia wasn't: bold, provocative, and drawn to danger. She had already made a name for herself in the high-end art scene, rumored to have been involved with more than one influential patron. When Nathan first crossed paths with her, sparks ignited. Maybe it was her unapologetic confidence, or the way she refused to be intimidated by his status. Maybe it was the way she teased him about Sophia's wholesome, girl-next-door persona, pushing him to embrace a riskier, less conventional side of himself. Regardless of the reason, Nathan found himself drawn deeper and deeper into Olivia's orbit. At first, it was just business. Casual dinners discussing architectural themes for the Caldwell legacy. But her allure made him linger longer than he should have. Stepping into a moral gray zone, Sophia sensed a shift in Nathan's behavior. He became more guarded with his phone, texting late at night, smiling at messages he never shared. He started wearing a new brand of cologne, strong, intense, and uncharacteristically bold. When she asked about it, he merely shrugged. There was a tension in the air, something even her best friend Rachel Kim picked up on during a casual lunch. "Honey," Rachel said gently, "you deserve a partner who's present, especially now." Sophia forced a brittle smile. "It's just a busy period for him. It'll get better." But a voice inside her wasn't so sure. The illusion of Nathan's perfect life was unraveling, one clandestine encounter at a time. His affair with Olivia Hart escalated dangerously fast. What started as flirtations turned into passionate trysts in five-star hotel suites. She would whisper sweet deceptions into his ear, telling him how dull and predictable the world of proper wives and stable marriages could be. Fueled by adrenaline, Nathan reciprocated with lavish gifts. A diamond bracelet here, a sleek sports car there. Olivia never outright asked for them, but her eyes gleamed whenever he offered, encouraging him to keep pushing boundaries. Meanwhile, Sophia grew lonelier. Her pregnancy progressed without the emotional support she had expected. She started noticing inconsistencies in Nathan's schedule. On nights he claimed to be at the Caldwell Legacy construction site, she would find social media photos of him at an exclusive lounge, a glass of whiskey in hand. Standing beside him always was a woman with glossy hair. Faces were often obscured by strategic angles or group shots, but it was enough to stoke Sophia's worst fears. Then, one afternoon, as she was organizing Nathan's closet, she discovered a hotel keycard in the pocket of his jacket. Her heart pounded. The previous night, he had told her he'd been working at the construction office until midnight. So why did he have a key to the Fairmont Regency? A wave of nausea hit her, and it wasn't just from pregnancy hormones. That evening she confronted Nathan in their sunlit living room, with panoramic views of Los Angeles, the same place where they had once curled up, dreaming about their future as a family. She handed him the keycard, her eyes filled with betrayal. "What is this?" she asked, her voice trembling. Nathan froze for a second, then forced a casual laugh. "Sophia, you're not seriously suggesting," she cut him off. "Don't insult me by denying it." Her voice sharpened with pain, and something in her eyes shifted, from confusion to fury. "I know you weren't at the site that night. I've seen the pictures. You had your arms around her, laughing like nothing else existed. You've been lying to me again." His face paled. The silence between them stretched like a blade. "I can explain. I'm listening." And so, Nathan spun a half-truth. He claimed that Olivia was a business associate from overseas, someone he needed to entertain in order to secure investment for the Caldwell legacy. He was sorry for the deception, he insisted, but it was purely professional. "The hotel suite was a courtesy for an important guest," he added quickly, his voice a notch too rehearsed. "We might have had a few drinks, but it was all business. I didn't tell you because I didn't want you to worry." Sophia stared into his eyes, searching for the man she once believed in. Silent tears streamed down her face. She wanted so badly to believe him, to believe this was just a mistake, not a choice. But deep down an unshakable sense of betrayal gnawed at her. And yet, her love for him was still strong. It clung to her like a memory she couldn't shake. She told herself that as long as he denied a physical affair, maybe, just maybe, she could forgive him. She placed the key card on the table, exhaling shakily before turning to her husband. Her voice was nearly a whisper, but it carried the weight of a breaking heart. "If there's more to it," she whispered, "be honest. Nathan, I'm pregnant with your child. Don't you think I deserve the truth?" He swallowed hard. "I swear. That's all. I'm sorry for misleading you." Sophia nodded, though her intuition screamed otherwise. From that day on, she lived in a realm of suspicion. The walls of trust, once firm, now felt paper-thin. She started scanning credit card statements, checking Nathan's phone logs when he wasn't looking. Each late-night buzz of his phone sent her heart spiraling. The strain on her emotional well-being was immense. At her next prenatal appointment, her obstetrician expressed concern over her rising blood pressure. The stress was taking a toll. Only one person recognized the danger for what it was: Rachel Kim. Through a mutual acquaintance, Rachel discovered that Olivia Hart wasn't some random investor. She was a regular in high society circles, known not for business acumen, but for her entanglements with powerful men, and her reputation was anything but professional. Concerned, Rachel confided in Sophia. "Please, Sophia," she said, "you have to protect yourself. Olivia is not who Nathan claims she is." A cold wave of dread enveloped Sophia. Her illusions were unraveling. The life she thought she was building began to feel like a beautiful lie, painted over cracks she had refused to see. Her entire marriage might have been built on a crumbling foundation, but she had no idea just how destructive Nathan's betrayal would soon become. Despite Sophia's suspicions, Nathan and Olivia carried on their affair with reckless abandon. Late-night rendezvous became frequent. Nathan's arrogance grew, fueled by the thrill of leading a double life without getting caught, at least not conclusively. The Caldwell Legacy project served as a convenient cover, allowing Nathan to justify his late meetings and frequent business trips. It became the perfect excuse, the mask he wore while spiraling deeper into betrayal. Then came one fateful Saturday. Nathan and Olivia attended a glitzy charity ball at the historic Grand Vista Hotel. Typically, Sophia would have joined him at such high-profile events, but with her third trimester well underway, Nathan easily convinced her to rest at home. Ironically, the event was a fundraiser to support pregnant mothers in need, hosted by Los Angeles philanthropic elite. The cruel symmetry of it only heightened what would soon become a public humiliation. Olivia arrived draped in a striking silk gown, her arm hooked around Nathan's. She turned heads with ease, radiating the kind of calculated confidence that made her feel invincible. They danced among the city's most powerful figures, champagne glasses in hand, while whispers spread through the crowd. Their intimacy was undeniable. A few guests even recognized Olivia as Nathan's rumored mistress. Some exchanged knowing glances, others took mental notes, waiting for the fallout. But no one dared to cause a scene. Around midnight, they slipped away to a private suite reserved for the event's VIP donors. In the seclusion of that lavish room, Olivia teased Nathan about his domestic obligations. "Your perfect wife and her perfect nursery," she smirked, swirling her glass. "Don't you ever crave more?" He responded by assuring her that once the baby was born, he'd figure out a way to ensure Sophia was taken care of, so he could be free to chase bigger adventures with Olivia. "You're the rush I've been missing," he whispered, blind to the destruction he was courting. What they didn't know was that a staff photographer, tasked with capturing images of VIPs for promotional material, had inadvertently wandered into the suite. The shutter clicked. Captured in that brief moment was a stolen kiss, Nathan's hand placed possessively on Olivia's waist. Though the photographer apologized and left immediately, the damage was already done. The camera didn't just catch a kiss, it immortalized betrayal. A damning photo now existed, one that showed Nathan Caldwell, heir to a billion-dollar empire, locked in an undeniable embrace with a woman who wasn't his wife. By dawn, the image had made its way into the phone of a junior staffer, who then forwarded it to a friend at a well-known gossip blog. Within 24 hours, the photo was live. The headline was explosive. "Caldwell heir cozy with mystery woman at charity ball. Where's his pregnant wife?" Sophia woke up that Sunday morning to an onslaught of texts and calls. Friends, acquaintances, even her hairstylist. Her phone buzzed relentlessly, like an alarm she couldn't silence. Her heart pounded as she clicked the link. Her breathing grew shallow as the image loaded. There he was, Nathan, gazing adoringly into another woman's eyes. Not just cheating, celebrating it, in public. Something inside her shattered, an irreparable crack that spread into heartbreak and fury. When Nathan finally returned to their mansion, disheveled, reeking of perfume, Sophia stood waiting in the living room, phone in hand. She didn't shout, she didn't cry, she simply held up the photograph, tears glistening in her eyes. "You said it was just business," she whispered. "Look me in the eye and tell me that's true." Nathan opened his mouth, struggling for excuses, but no words came. How could he spin that photograph into a harmless story? In an instant, Sophia's illusions dissolved. She realized she had been deceiving herself, trying to hold on to a marriage that Nathan had already thrown away. For lust, for ego, for something fleeting. She turned away from him, pressing a hand to her pregnant belly. Their baby was due in 2 months, and yet the father had chosen someone else. "I'm done," she said, barely above a whisper. "I can't do this anymore." Nathan reached for her arm, panic swelling in his eyes. "Wait, Sophia, let's talk." She yanked her arm free. "You've done enough talking. Now it's my turn to act." And just like that, the once idyllic marriage of Nathan and Sophia Caldwell lay in ruins, undone by a single photograph that exposed the ugly truth. Nathan had betrayed his pregnant wife, without remorse. Sophia left the mansion that very evening, unwilling to stay under the same roof as the man who had shattered her heart so carelessly. Rachel Kim arrived in a whirlwind of protective energy, helping Sophia pack a few essentials into a suitcase. Her face was stony as she glared at Nathan, who stood hovering in the doorway, attempting half-hearted apologies. "We'll pick up the rest of her things another time," Rachel snapped. "She needs peace, not your lies." Sophia barely spoke, her spirit bruised into numbness. She took temporary refuge in Rachel's apartment, a cozy loft in downtown Los Angeles. There she curled up on the sofa bed, tears streaming silently as she mourned the loss of her marriage. Every time she felt the soft kick of her unborn child, her heartbreak deepened. This baby deserved a stable, loving father. Yet Nathan had chosen to betray them both. The next day, the scandal exploded. Gossip columns churned out salacious headlines, branding Nathan as a heartless philanderer. Caldwell development stock value wobbled, shaken by the negative publicity. Richard Caldwell called an emergency meeting, his fury palpable. Nathan sat in silence, his shoulders slumped, as his father's anger bore down on him. You had it all, a devoted wife, an heir on the way, and you threw it away for some fling, Richard thundered, pacing his executive suite. Do you realize how badly you've disgraced our name? His voice dropped to a lethal tone. You fix this, Nathan, or you'll find yourself cut off from more than just your inheritance. But Nathan's predicament was beyond a simple fix. Olivia Hart had no interest in damage control. She flaunted their affair openly, relishing the notoriety. She teased Nathan in texts about how the city's tabloids were buzzing with their names, and she enjoyed every second of it. Olivia reveled in the attention, subtly pushing Nathan to legitimize their relationship. She whispered promises of power and pleasure, urging him to stop hiding, to make her official, as if love was something owed. He wavered between the thrill of her presence and the growing regret of losing Sophia. Meanwhile, Sophia discreetly hired a formidable divorce attorney, Victoria Hayes, a legal powerhouse known for her fierce representation of scorned spouses. Victoria meticulously reviewed the photographic evidence and Nathan's financial records, preparing to secure a settlement that would ensure Sophia's unborn child would never want for anything. Every document Victoria uncovered felt like another cut. Each number, each receipt, another betrayal quantified. Sophia tried to emotionally steel herself for the legal battles ahead, but her heart still ached, a painful mix of love and betrayal. She often woke in the middle of the night, her hand resting on her growing belly, whispering silent promises to her unborn child. We'll be okay without him. In a moment of desperation, Nathan attempted to reconcile. He showed up unannounced at Rachel's apartment, pleading for a chance to talk. With great reluctance, Sophia agreed to meet him in the building's lobby. She was visibly pregnant, wearing a loose-fitting sundress that brushed against her belly. The sight of her, glowing yet distant, rattled Nathan far more than he expected. The hollow look in her eyes nearly shattered Nathan's composure. Sophia, he began softly, I messed up. I was seduced by the excitement, by Olivia's. She lifted a hand, cutting him off. Tears threatened to spill, but her voice was steady. Stop. You don't need to justify your affair. You made your choice, Nathan. And now I've made mine. There was no rage in her tone, just the chilling certainty of a woman who had nothing left to lose. His eyes flickered with panic. I want to be part of our child's life. Sophia studied him, holding back her emotions. You had a place in our lives, Nathan. You abandoned it. Our child deserves a stable environment, and I don't trust you to provide that. She turned away, walking toward the elevator. Nathan stood frozen, watching as the doors slid shut. A crushing sense of finality washed over him. He felt like a man left outside in the rain, watching the windows of a warm home he once belonged to. At that moment, he realized he had lost something far more precious than wealth or reputation. But it was too late to undo the damage. 2 weeks later, Sophia's divorce papers were formally served to Nathan. As news of their split circulated, Caldwell Developments faced another wave of negative publicity. Richard Caldwell swiftly restructured the company's leadership, stripping Nathan of key responsibilities to minimize further damage. Meanwhile, Olivia, completely unfazed, told the media she was thrilled. Nathan was finally free, she boasted, fully expecting to step into Sophia's place within the Caldwell empire. She flashed a smile for the cameras, oblivious to the cracks already forming beneath their foundation. But Nathan, despite all his arrogance, found himself increasingly alone. His father and the board of directors openly disapproved of the scandal. Investors grew wary. The once proud Caldwell name became a subject of gossip at every exclusive club. Even Olivia's presence, once intoxicating, began to grate on him. Olivia's demands, her insatiable thirst for fame, at first they had seemed exhilarating. Now they felt exhausting. Late at night, Nathan lay awake in his penthouse, staring at the ceiling, thinking of the quiet warmth Sophia once provided. Sophia, on the other hand, found refuge in her career ambitions. Pivoting from her communications role at the nonprofit, she channeled her heartbreak into launching her own PR consultancy. She poured her energy into crafting high-profile campaigns for philanthropic initiatives, ironically rivaling the scale of anything Nathan might have once sponsored. Meanwhile, her pregnancy progressed. She found solace in Rachel's unwavering support, who insisted on transforming a spare room into a makeshift nursery. In the final weeks before her due date, Sophia received an unexpected invitation to a prestigious philanthropic gala at the Los Angeles Art Museum. Under normal circumstances, she would have avoided such an event to minimize stress. But curiosity took hold when she learned the evening would feature an award ceremony honoring philanthropic entrepreneurs, and she was being recognized for her recent achievements in charity marketing. Despite her reluctance, Sophia decided to attend. A decision that would prove fateful. She selected a graceful black maternity gown that accentuated her growing bump, stepping into the museum's grand marble foyer with composure. A few murmurs rippled through the crowd. Some recognized her as Nathan Caldwell's pregnant ex-wife, wondering if he, too, would be present, eager for a spectacle. But Nathan wasn't there. Instead, the evening introduced Sophia to Ethan Sinclair, a distinguished billionaire investor known for his sharp mind and reserved nature. Unlike Nathan's flamboyance, Ethan was understated, almost shy. Rumor had it he had come from humble beginnings, building an empire in biotech and sustainable energy. After Sophia's acceptance speech, Ethan approached her, quietly praising her eloquence and dedication to social causes. Their conversation flowed naturally. He asked about her upcoming motherhood. She, in turn, inquired about his philanthropic ventures. From him, she felt something she hadn't in a long time: warmth, a sincerity reminiscent of what she once believed Nathan possessed. In the following weeks, Ethan sent thoughtful messages checking in on her health. Their friendship developed gradually, free from the weight of her past. For the first time in months, Sophia felt seen. Not just as a pregnant woman entangled in scandal, but as a person. Meanwhile, Olivia and Nathan's once fiery affair began to crack. The reality of Nathan's losses, both personal and professional, was sinking in. And he was starting to realize just how much he had truly thrown away. Nathan grew irritable, no longer indulging Olivia's every whim. The thrill was gone, and so was his patience. What once felt intoxicating now felt suffocating. She, in turn, fumed at his moodiness, complaining that he had become dull now that the excitement of tabloid headlines had died down. "Where's the fire?" she snapped one evening. "You used to be fun, now all you do is sulk." Their glamorous nights out turned into petty arguments. Nathan's thoughts drifted back to Sophia, wondering how she was coping in the final weeks of her pregnancy. But every attempt to reach her was blocked by her lawyer, Victoria Hayes, who made it clear any contact regarding the child would go through legal channels. And so two parallel journeys emerged: Sophia forging a new path, supported by an unlikely friend in billionaire Ethan Sinclair. Nathan, wrestling with regret, his illusions of love with Olivia cracking under the weight of reality. What he thought was passion had become noise. What he left behind was starting to look like peace. Late one night, as thunder rumbled through the Los Angeles skyline, Sophia woke to intense labor pains. The sound of rain tapping against the windows blended with her sharp breaths. Rachel scrambled to get her to the hospital, weaving through rain-slicked streets. Between contractions, Sophia clenched Rachel's hand, tears of anxiety and excitement mixing with the pain. She was about to meet her baby. By the time they reached the hospital, her contractions were mere minutes apart. Nurses rushed her into a private delivery room. Sophia caught a glimpse of her own reflection in the hallway mirror, sweaty, wide-eyed, trembling, and whispered, "You're strong. You've got this." The next few hours blurred into a haze of pain, breathing exercises, and desperate prayers. Rachel never left her side, offering ice chips and an unwavering hand to squeeze. At one point, Sophia screamed out, not from pain, but from the emotion of doing it all without the man who had promised to be there. Finally, at dawn's first light, Sophia's newborn daughter, Aria Bennett, entered the world with a piercing cry. Overcome with emotion, Sophia cradled Aria to her chest. She marveled at the tiny fingers, the delicate features. In that moment, her heartbreak over Nathan faded, replaced by a tidal wave of maternal love. All the betrayal, the lies, the abandonment, they were still real, but they no longer defined her. Aria did. News of the birth spread quickly through social media and elite circles. Many wondered, would Nathan rush to the hospital to claim his paternal rights? To Sophia's surprise, it was Ethan Sinclair who arrived discreetly. He brought her a bouquet of lavender and quietly offered to cover any hospital expenses. He stayed in the waiting area, not wanting to intrude, yet close enough should she need anything. He didn't try to be the hero. He just showed up, and sometimes that was more heroic than anything else. Nathan, on the other hand, only learned of his daughter's birth the next morning. Richard Caldwell stormed into his penthouse, an article clutched in his hand. Sophia Caldwell, now Bennett, welcomes baby girl. You have a child, Richard growled, and you're not even by her side. Nathan felt a bolt of panic. He had completely lost track of Sophia's final weeks. Frantic, he tried calling her, but she never picked up. He tried calling Rachel, but she had blocked him. Desperate, he rushed to the hospital, only to find out that Sophia had checked out hours earlier. In a last-ditch effort, Nathan confronted her lawyer, Victoria Hayes. She informed him of the legal steps required if he wanted custody or visitation. A structured plan. The harsh truth sank in. Sophia wanted no personal contact with Nathan. For the first time, he fully realized the depth of the pain he had caused. Meanwhile, Sophia's world had been completely upended by the challenges of caring for a newborn. Safe in Rachel's apartment with baby Aria, she navigated sleepless nights, constant diaper changes, and the overwhelming rush of postpartum emotions. Yet, she found solace in her daughter's sleepy smiles, her tiny gurgles. Through it all, Ethan Sinclair remained a quiet, steadfast presence. He checked in on her daily, sending gourmet meals so she wouldn't have to cook. He even arranged for a private doctor to be on standby for emergencies. At first, Sophia hesitated to accept too much help from a man she barely knew. But Ethan never overstepped. He was simply there. Eventually, after a month of patient support, Ethan gently asked if he could meet Aria. With Rachel's encouragement, Sophia agreed. She was surprised by how naturally he held the baby. His expression was one of pure wonder, as though Aria was the most precious thing he had ever seen. The contrast between his presence and Nathan's absence was stark. Sophia felt an unexpected mix of gratitude and sorrow. In a quiet moment, Ethan looked at her, sincerity shining in his dark eyes. If you ever need anything, anything at all, I'm here for you. No strings attached. Sophia nodded, tears brimming in her eyes. Thank you, she whispered. It means more than you know. With each passing day, Nathan's life spiraled further from the fairy tale he once lived. Losing Sophia, he realized, meant losing everything. Stability, genuine connection, even the prospect of fatherhood. Caldwell Developments, too, began demanding more of him than he could handle. Investors grew uneasy, unsure if a man consumed by scandal could still lead them to success. His relationship with Olivia deteriorated. The superficial glamour that had once enthralled him now felt hollow. When she pressured him to take her on an extravagant European vacation, he snapped, accusing her of being a parasite. Furious, Olivia retaliated with her own brand of cruelty, mocking him for pining after his boring wife and wailing brat. Eventually, Nathan kicked Olivia out of his penthouse, severing ties for good. She shrugged, unbothered, already moving on to her next wealthy target. Nathan was left alone, haunted by a single image, a photograph of Sophia from their wedding day, a memory of pure, unblemished joy. Desperate, he made a decision. He would fight for a place in Aria's life. Nathan hired a new legal team, who assured him that he had paternal rights. Yet each step of the process forced him to confront Sophia's unwavering stance. She refused to let Aria be used as a pawn in any manipulative game. If Nathan truly wanted to be a father, he would have to prove it over time, under strict supervised visitation rules. Weeks turned into months. Finally, Nathan arranged a supervised visit with Aria at a neutral, child-friendly counseling center. Holding his daughter for the first time, he felt an overwhelming surge of love and regret. Aria stared at him with wide, curious eyes, her sweet innocence oblivious to the turmoil of her parents' lives. Nathan fought back tears, realizing the magnitude of all he had squandered. When the allotted hour ended, he returned Aria to the court-appointed liaison. As he exited, he saw Sophia standing in the corridor. She looked more radiant than ever. Motherhood had softened her features, but there was a quiet strength in her eyes, one he barely recognized. Instead of approaching her, he hung back, shame pressing heavily on him. He suspected she had someone new in her life. Rumors pointed to a certain billionaire's involvement, but Nathan had no right to question her choices. Back in his lonely penthouse, Nathan stared at the city skyline. He had once seen its bright lights as a symbol of conquest. Now it felt like a hollow monument to his failure. His father's last words echoed in his mind, "You fix this, or you lose everything." Nathan now understood. Some losses were irreparable, no matter how desperately one tried to rewrite the past. By the time Arya turned 6 months old, Sophia had settled into a new rhythm. She managed her PR consultancy from home, balancing client meetings with feedings and lullabies. Rachel remained her trusted confidant. But another figure had quietly become indispensable in her life: Ethan Sinclair. What had started as a gentle friendship was evolving into something deeper. Ethan was cautious about expressing his feelings, wary of taking advantage of Sophia's vulnerability. Yet, every dinner he cooked for her, every lullaby he hummed while rocking Arya, spoke volumes of his devotion. Gradually, Sophia allowed her guard to lower. She recognized in Ethan a patience and empathy that Nathan had sorely lacked. While Nathan had craved the spotlight, Ethan seemed content to love quietly and consistently. As they grew closer, Sophia realized she was no longer just healing from Nathan's betrayal. She was discovering a different, steadier kind of love. Ethan invited Sophia to an intimate celebration for the opening of a new wing at a children's hospital he had funded. He suggested she bring Arya, and Sophia happily agreed. Dressed in an elegant navy gown, she cradled Arya in her arms as they toured the facility. Ethan beamed, introducing them to doctors and young patients. Watching him kneel beside a little boy, helping him fit a puzzle piece into place in the therapy room, Sophia felt a surge of admiration. And yes, affection. They ended the evening on a quiet rooftop terrace, the city's lights shimmering below. Arya dozed in her stroller, lulled by the gentle hum of their conversation. That's when Ethan turned to Sophia, a hint of nervousness in his voice. "I know life has been complicated for you," he said softly, "and I don't want to rush anything, but I need you to know, I've never felt this way before. Not just about you, but about Arya. About us." Sophia's breath caught. She gazed at him, her heart pounding. She thought of the heartbreak Nathan had caused, the toll it had taken on her trust. Could she risk marriage again? She studied Ethan's eyes, deep, reassuring, promising stability rather than fleeting thrills. Quietly, she replied, "It feels too soon. Are you sure you're ready for everything?" He smiled gently, brushing a stray lock of hair from her face. "I've been ready," he murmured, "but only if it's what you truly want. I will wait until you feel the same." Moved by his sincerity, Sophia leaned in, pressing a tender kiss to his cheek. "I can't imagine a better father figure for Arya," she whispered. "Let's see where this leads. Carefully, step by step." It wasn't a formal acceptance of marriage. Yet the path was clear. Sophia had found a man who cherished her and her daughter. Nathan's ghost lingered, but it was fading into the background. News of Sophia's growing connection with Ethan Sinclair spread quietly through Los Angeles' elite circles. A few saw them dining together at private clubs, exchanging affectionate glances. Rumors swirled that the scorned ex-wife of Nathan Caldwell had found not just comfort, but genuine happiness in the arms of a billionaire. The tabloids picked up hints. Anonymous snapshots emerged. Sophia and Ethan leaving the children's hospital, strolling through Griffith Park with Arya. A hush replaced the once explosive scandal of Nathan and Olivia's affair. Instead, the new story captivating society was Sophia and Ethan, a pairing that piqued curiosity. The humble, conscientious billionaire and the woman who had overcome betrayal to rebuild her life. Nathan discovered these whispers only too late. At first, he dismissed them as gossip. But then, Nathan had dismissed the rumors as idle speculation. Until a chance encounter at a charity function changed everything. He overheard an acquaintance cheerfully remark, "Have you seen Sophia lately? She's practically glowing by that Sinclair fellow's side. Seems like she's left her heartbreak behind." Finally landed someone worthy. The words sliced deeper than intended. Careless gossip to one, but a gut punch to Nathan. Jealousy flared within him, sharp as an old wound reopening. That night he found himself checking social media, searching for any sign of Sophia. Then he stumbled upon it. A photo posted by a philanthropic organization. Ethan. Sophia. Arya. All three of them at a fundraiser, smiling radiantly. The caption read, "Thank you, Mr. Sinclair and Ms. Bennett, for your generous donation to our literacy program." The image struck Nathan with cruel clarity. Sophia had blossomed without him. She had built a life he wasn't part of, with a man more powerful and respected than Nathan had ever been. And worse, she looked happy, genuinely happy. The thought gnawed at him. She was supposed to be his wife, the mother of his child, and now she was moving on, not just surviving without him, but flourishing. Desperate, Nathan tried to contact Sophia, but she refused to speak to him outside their structured visitation arrangement for Arya. Even then, she sent a nanny or Rachel to supervise. Sometimes Ethan was present, an undeniable figure of calm authority. There was something about the way he held Arya's diaper bag, or how he remembered her nap times, that made Nathan feel like a guest in his own child's life. The casual way Arya accepted Ethan's presence, tugging at his collar, giggling when he tickled her, shredded Nathan's composure. His own daughter was more comfortable with another man, and he had no one to blame but himself. During one supervised visit, in the presence of a social worker, Nathan tried to strike up a conversation. "Sophia," he said carefully, "I think we should talk about co-parenting. Arya is my child." Sophia nodded, her tone measured. "We have a schedule in place. If you'd like more time, talk to Victoria Hayes." Nathan exhaled, frustration mounting. "We used to share everything, and now you're shutting me out." Her expression hardened. "You shut me out," she said coldly, "the night you chose Olivia." There was no anger in her voice, just exhaustion, as if she had told herself this 100 times before but needed him to hear it once more. She turned away, beckoning the nanny to gather Arya. Nathan reached for his daughter, offering a quick hug before she was carried away. Sophia gave Nathan one last glance, stern, unwavering. Then she left. Nathan walked out alone, his heart heavy. With a bitter sting, he realized the last remnants of his old life were slipping away. Sophia had not only thrived without him, she had found love, with a man leagues beyond him. A year after Arya's birth, Ethan decided enough time had passed for quiet courtship. He organized an intimate, elegant gathering at his Malibu estate, inviting close friends and family. Among them were Sophia, Rachel, and several philanthropic associates who had come to admire Sophia's resilience. As the sun set, guests sipped champagne by the rose garden. Ethan took Sophia's hand and led her to a gazebo adorned with fairy lights. Arya toddled beside them, giggling as she tried to keep up. Soft music filled the air, courtesy of a string quartet Ethan had hired for the evening. In front of this intimate audience, he knelt on one knee, pulling out a simple yet stunning ring, a flawless blue sapphire set in platinum. "Sophia Bennett," he said, his voice steady but warm, "you've shown me what true kindness and courage look like. You've allowed me into Arya's life. I want to spend my days showing you both how deeply you're loved. Will you marry me?" Tears welled in Sophia's eyes. She glanced at Arya, who clapped her tiny hands, oblivious but joyful. Then she looked at Ethan, the man who had stood by her through heartbreak, who had never demanded more than she could give, who treated Arya as if she were his own. She murmured, "Yes." Her voice choked with emotion. A cheer erupted from the small gathering. Rachel rushed forward, enveloping Sophia in a hug while others applauded. The setting sun bathed them in golden light, as if nature itself blessed their union. Soon after, Ethan's staff served an impromptu feast, toasting the newly engaged couple. For the first time in ages, Sophia allowed herself to believe in lasting happiness. But news of the engagement leaked out swiftly. Society columns praised the union of the philanthropic darling, Sophia Bennett, and tech and investment mogul, Ethan Sinclair. Predictions soared about the inevitable synergy of their charitable efforts. Some publications drew sensational contrasts to her prior marriage, labeling it the ultimate comeback from heartbreak. Nathan learned of the engagement from an online article. The words burned into him. Sophia Bennett, ex-wife of real estate heir Nathan Caldwell, is now engaged to billionaire Ethan Sinclair. The wedding date is rumored to be soon. Accompanying the piece was a photo of Sophia smiling in Ethan's arms, a ring glittering on her finger. Nathan's heart lurched with regret so profound he nearly doubled over. At that moment, he truly understood. Sophia was gone from his life forever, and she had found someone infinitely better, someone who treated her with respect and devotion. A A rock of anguish sat in Nathan's chest. Each breath reminded him of the life he had squandered for fleeting pleasure. Despite the finality of Sophia's engagement, Nathan found it impossible to let go. He refused to attend therapy, refused to confide in friends. Instead, he wallowed in a toxic mix of envy and regret. Restless nights haunted him. Visions of Sophia, once by his side, now in someone else's arms, tormenting his thoughts. Driven by desperation, Nathan made a radical decision. He would approach Sophia directly at her new home, ignoring her repeated requests for distance. He rationalized it as fatherly concern for Arya. But in truth, he longed for one last chance to plead with Sophia, to see if even a fragment of her old love for him remained, to prove to himself, if no one else, that he hadn't destroyed everything beyond repair. One afternoon, Nathan discovered the location of Ethan's estate in Malibu. Unsure if Sophia lived there full-time, he arrived unannounced, pressing the intercom. A staff member answered, polite but firm. "May I ask who's calling?" Nathan cleared his throat. "It's Nathan Caldwell. I'm Arya's father. I'd like to speak with Miss Bennett." Moments later, the door opened. Sophia stood in the foyer. Surprise and displeasure etched into her features. "Why are you here, Nathan?" she asked, her voice cold. "We have legal channels for everything related to Arya. This is inappropriate." He stepped forward, his eyes flicking around the sumptuous interior. "I had to see you, alone, please." She exhaled, then nodded at the staff to give them space. In a small sitting room near the entrance, they stood facing each other. The tension between them was palpable. Nathan's gaze landed on a framed photo on a side table. Ethan, Sophia, and Arya on a beach, all grinning. The sight stung. It wasn't just the image, it was what it represented. Peace, belonging, the kind of happiness Nathan had squandered. "What do you want?" Sophia pressed, arms crossed protectively. Nathan inhaled sharply, swallowing the lump in his throat. "I never meant for things to end this way. I made an unforgivable mistake. But once we looked at each other like that, like we were enough. But we were once in love, Sophia, enough to get married, to build a family. Doesn't that deserve a second chance?" Her face hardened. "We had a second chance, Nathan. And a third, maybe even a fourth. Each time I begged for change. Each time you served me silence or betrayal. You made your decision." Nathan cast a desperate glance around, searching for the right words. "Olivia was a mistake, a stupid fling. I was blind. But now I see how wrong I was. I can be a better father, a better husband." Sophia let out a bitter laugh, shaking her head. "Husband?" she echoed. "Nathan, I'm engaged to Ethan. We're planning a life together." Her voice trembled, not from hesitation, but from conviction. He winced. "He can never love Arya like I do. I'm her real father." Sophia took a sharp breath. "You are her biological father, Nathan. But a real father is present. Loving, respectful. Ethan has been more of a father to her in a year than you've been since the day she was born." Her words hit him like a slap, not because they were cruel, because they were true. For a moment, Nathan's facade cracked. Tears welled in his eyes. "Please, Sophia, just give me a chance to show you I've changed. I'll do anything. Leave Caldwell Developments. Start fresh. Whatever you want." Sophia's gaze softened for an instant, pity warring with anger. She recalled their wedding vows. The night he had rushed her to the ER for a panic attack early in their marriage. Small acts of kindness. But those memories couldn't outweigh the betrayal. Steadying herself, she replied, "Nathan, the time to prove you were trustworthy came and went. I'm marrying Ethan. He respects me, loves me, cherishes Arya. That's enough. Our relationship ended the day you chose Olivia over our unborn child." In the silent aftermath of her words, Nathan felt his soul splinter. No flowery plea could undo the damage he had caused. Sophia turned away, calling for a staff member to escort him out. Before leaving, Nathan asked in a shaky voice, "Can I at least see Arya?" Sophia's voice trembled with finality. "Visitation is every other Saturday, as agreed. You'll see her then, with a court liaison present." And with that, Nathan left, forced to face the truth. He was no longer Sophia's husband, nor was he Arya's primary protector. Another man had taken his place, and deservedly so. The day of Sophia Bennett and Ethan Sinclair's wedding dawned bright and clear. A crisp autumn breeze ruffled the golden leaves of Griffith Park. Despite their mutual preference for intimacy, the event naturally attracted attention. Ethan's wealth and Sophia's philanthropic success had made them a high-profile couple. Still, they managed to keep the ceremony relatively private, inviting close friends, family, and select members of the philanthropic world. They both cherished every moment. Sophia wore an ethereal lace gown designed by young talent she had discovered through her PR work. The dress flowed gracefully around her figure, every stitch symbolizing her rebirth from heartbreak. At her side, tiny Aria served as the flower girl, wearing a dainty white frock toddling down the makeshift aisle with a basket of petals. Rachel stood as maid of honor, tears of joy shimmering in her eyes. At the altar, Ethan watched Sophia approach, his eyes filled with devotion. The ceremony was brief but profound. Vows were exchanged, words woven with love, respect, and resilience. When they were pronounced husband and wife, the guests erupted in applause. Aria giggled as Ethan scooped her up, pressing a soft kiss to her cheek before turning to kiss. As they walked back down the aisle, hand in hand, confetti fluttered around them. Sophia spotted her parents brimming with pride and Rachel beaming with unstoppable tears of joy. In that moment, Sophia felt complete, loved, accepted, free from the shackles of her painful past. But among the crowd, she noticed a face lurking at the edge. Nathan Caldwell. He hadn't been invited, of course, but somehow he had found a vantage point just beyond the ceremonial area, hidden behind a stand of trees. He stood alone, half shielded by the branches like a ghost, haunting a life he no longer belonged to. His eyes glistened with tears, his expression raw with regret. For a brief second, their gazes locked. An unspoken farewell passed between them. Sophia's breath caught just for a moment, but it wasn't longing. It was closure. She squeezed Ethan's hand tighter, turning her focus back to the reception. She didn't owe Nathan any more explanations. She had survived the darkest betrayal, nurtured her daughter, and found genuine love. That was all that mattered. Nathan stayed hidden in the shadows, his heart constricted as he watched Sophia pledge her life to another man. The breeze carried echoes of vows he would never say, promises he had already broken. The memory of how he once held that role burned through him like acid. Too late, he realized. His fleeting indulgences had destroyed any chance at happiness with the woman who once loved him wholeheartedly. And now she was radiant without him, building the very life he once took for granted. The days after Sophia and Ethan's wedding were filled with bliss. They spent a brief honeymoon at a tranquil Tuscan villa, strolling through vineyards and savoring quiet dinners under starlit skies. Aria accompanied them, doted on by a small team of caretakers. But Sophia and Ethan still found plenty of time for themselves, forging deeper intimacy through shared hopes and dreams. Upon returning to Los Angeles, Sophia felt a renewed sense of purpose. She expanded her PR consultancy, focusing on philanthropic projects that aligned with her and Ethan's joint vision. Under his mentorship, she refined her business model, forging alliances that further elevated her brand. Their philanthropic synergy made them a power couple in the social circuit. But through it all, they never lost the personal warmth that bound them together. It wasn't just a love story, it was a partnership built on mutual healing, growth, and truth. Meanwhile, Nathan trudged through the aftermath of his loss. His father, Richard Caldwell, gave him a choice: shape up or step down from Caldwell Developments entirely. The board had lost faith in his leadership after the scandal. Determined not to let his entire legacy collapse, Nathan poured himself into business, hoping to distract himself from the emotional void. Yet, no matter how many deals he closed or how many high-profile clients he courted, the sense of emptiness persisted. The boardroom couldn't fill the silence of an empty apartment. Every other Saturday, Nathan saw Aria under court-mandated supervision. At first, the visits were awkward. Aria was more comfortable in Ethan's arms than her own father's. But children are naturally forgiving. And as the months passed, Aria began to warm up to Nathan's presence, learning to trust his gentle gestures. Nathan treasured those short hours, even though each departure left him feeling raw. Sometimes, Nathan caught glimpses of Sophia at drop-offs or pickups. She was always cordial but distant. Her wedding ring glinted on her finger. She radiated happiness, a kind of happiness Nathan knew he could never replicate in her life again. One chilly December afternoon, after a brief supervised visit with Aria, Nathan lingered in the hallway of the visitation center. His attorney had told him that in a few months he might be allowed unsupervised visits if he demonstrated consistency and responsibility. For the first time in a long while, he felt a flicker of hope. Maybe he could at least be a decent father. Sophia passed by, carrying Arya on her hip, bundled up in a pink coat. Nathan gently reached out, brushing Arya's tiny hand in a silent goodbye. Sophia paused, meeting his gaze. "You're doing better with her," she said softly, surprising him with the small compliment. He offered a sad smile. "Thank you. I'm trying." Sophia nodded, hesitating for a moment. "She'll benefit from having you in her life, as long as you stay stable." It was the closest thing to approval he had felt from her in ages. He nodded, gratitude brimming in his eyes. "I will, for her." She turned away then, joining Ethan, who stood waiting outside, carrying a plush baby bag. Nathan watched them drive off, a family unit, bound by love, and he recognized with absolute clarity that from this point on, he could never reclaim Sophia's heart. The best he could do was atone for his mistakes by being a constant, caring presence in Arya's life. 2 years passed. Arya grew into a lively toddler, bright-eyed and full of curiosity. She referred to Ethan as Daddy Alex and Nathan as Papa Nathan, a distinction Sophia carefully explained in ways Arya could understand. Both men had a place in her life, though Ethan provided daily paternal care, while Nathan contributed intermittent but earnest fatherly love. Sophia flourished in her marriage. Her PR firm thrived, bolstered by the synergy of Ethan's philanthropic investments. She remained grateful for every calm morning spent with Arya, and every tender night in Ethan's arms. A quiet reminder that heartbreak could blossom into renewal if one dared to move forward. Nathan, though never fully at peace, found stability in dedicating himself to Arya's well-being. And rebuilding his reputation at Caldwell Developments, he toned down his flamboyance, focusing instead on producing quality developments. Each time he spent an afternoon with Arya, teaching her to stack blocks, playing hide-and-seek, Nathan glimpsed redemption on Arya's 3rd birthday. Sophia and Ethan hosted a garden party, inviting a small circle of close friends. Nathan was welcomed, albeit uneasy. Thanks to Sophia's generosity, he arrived with an intricately wrapped gift, a handcrafted wooden music box. Arya squealed with delight, hugging him around the knees. Sophia watched from a short distance, her eyes soft but distant, like watching a chapter she'd already turned the page on. Her smile tinged with bittersweet acceptance. In the gentle sunlight, as laughter and children's voices filled the air, Nathan approached Sophia with cautious steps. "Thank you for letting me be here," he spoke quietly. "Arya looks so happy." Sophia nodded, hugging herself against the breeze. "I want her to have good memories of all the people who love her." There was no anger in her tone, just a quiet, settled strength that no longer looked to him for closure. They shared a brief understanding. The wounds of betrayal had scarred, but life had continued, forging new bonds. Even though their story as husband and wife ended in heartbreak, a different story emerged. One of separated parents coexisting for their child. One of unexpected second chances, in the arms of someone else. Nathan slipped away, watching as Sophia returned to Ethan's side. The billionaire wrapped an arm around her waist, leaning in to brush a kiss on her temple. Meanwhile, Arya tugged at their hands, babbling excitedly about the balloons. They looked like a painting, serene, joyful, whole. A family he once imagined, now belonging to someone else. It was a portrait of the family Sophia deserved, one Nathan could never replicate. In that final moment, Nathan felt the sting of regret, but overshadowing it was a resolve to keep his promise, to love Arya in the limited capacity he had left, to support her from afar, to ensure she never doubted she was cherished. He knew now, being a father wasn't about grand gestures. It was about showing up, even when the spotlight had long moved on. For all his riches, that was the only redemption he could truly afford. And ironically, the only one that mattered. Sophia's journey, from betrayed wife to confident partner and mother, proves that heartbreak can ignite personal growth, leading to a future far brighter than any shattered past. While Nathan's betrayal left scars that might never fully fade, Sophia refused to let those wounds define her. Through resilience and unwavering love for her daughter, she discovered true happiness in the arms of a man who valued her worth. Her story wasn't about revenge, it was about rebirth. And in that, she triumphed. Dear friend, if you're still here, still watching or listening at this very moment, then maybe, just maybe, this story stirred something in you. Maybe you're not just hearing a story about betrayal, heartbreak, and redemption. Maybe you're recognizing a piece of your own journey within it. And if that's the case, I'd love to hear what it brought up for you. What did you feel? What did you realize? Because from my own experience, after walking through pain, loss, and transformation, I've come to see something simple yet powerful. Our suffering often comes not from change itself, but from our resistance to it. We cling to things, people, status, certainty, things that are destined to shift, and when they do, we break. But change doesn't come to destroy us. It comes to reveal us. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "They may kill you, curse you, try to throw mud on your soul, but, like a fresh spring, you must bubble up clean, clear, and whole again. Don't let them stain you, rise above." So how do we do that? By focusing not on control, but on character. By letting go of what we cannot hold and choosing to live simply, kindly, and in truth. To keep our minds clear, not by shutting out the world, but by recognizing that much of what we chase is temporary. What truly matters is eternal. You see, there is a divine rhythm in all things. Even right now, within your body, a war rages silently between your immune system and invisible invaders. And yet somehow, you're still here. Still breathing, still becoming. The hardest moments in my life? They've become the most beautiful ones in hindsight, because they carved out space inside me that strength and clarity now fill. Marcus Aurelius said, "Why see misfortune in the event, when the real fortune lies in your ability to endure it?" Whatever happens to you was prepared for you from eternity. Embrace the hand fate has dealt you, and play it as your own. And I know, it's easy to see the meaning after the storm has passed. But the true gift is learning to see beauty in the thunder while you're still standing in the rain. Because when you do that, you stop being driven by fear or impulse and start being led by your higher self. You begin to make decisions not based on what you want right now, but what you want most. Let go of what you can't control. Don't waste your life trying to carry everything at once. Lift your head, walk toward your highest ideal, not for fame, not for validation, but because becoming your best self is your purpose. The universe doesn't ask you to be perfect. It asks you to try, to pursue virtue, honor, love, courage, justice, compassion, not because it's easy, but because it's who you were born to be. So if this message touched you, if this story reflected something in your own life, please leave your thoughts in the comments, and most importantly, subscribe to this channel, because I want to keep sharing stories like this. Stories that heal, stories that hold up a mirror, stories that remind us we're never alone in what we feel. Thank you for being here, and wherever you are on your path, keep your soul clear and your heart brave. You're doing better than you think.